in Alabama, a three-panel federal court. They have struck down Alabama's version of its congressional map. They say Alabama deliberately disenfranchised black voters. 2 of these 3 judges were appointed by Donald Trump. Look at this here. This is from The Hill. It says the more than 500-page ruling from a unanimous 3-judge panel said it was, quote, not a close call, unquote, to require the state to have a map with more representation for black voters than the 2023 plan. This right here is Thursday's ruling, followed a trial earlier this year when the state sought to reinstate the 2023 map despite the initial court ruling finding it likely violated the VRA. The court found that the 2023 map did not comply with the VRA, and the state legislatures ignored the court's initial order to provide an additional black opportunity district. Try as we might, we cannot understand the 2023 plan as anything other than an intentional effort to dilute black Alabamians' voting strength and evade the unambiguous requirements of court orders standing in the way, the judges wrote. Greg, that's strong language from federal judges. We're talking about conservative federal judges.
Absolutely. Roland, I think this is, I don't even want to use the word encouraging anymore. I think we should get away. Well, I know people are going to use it, but I think we should probably try to get away from the language of, being encouraged, feeling that we're on the side of right. Take all that out. Let's just get to the nuts and bolts of the plain language meaning of statutes, plain language reading of the Constitution. We know there will be leeway, but here's the bottom line. I don't care whether you're a quote-unquote conservative, quote-unquote liberal. If you're sitting as a judge on a federal bench, unless you're just a rogue ideologue like Samuel Alito or Clarence Thomas, you're going to have a hard time. In fact, you'll have an impossible time defending much of this clown show that's coming out of this administration. This is not just going to happen once or twice. It's going to happen over and over and over again. This case is being appealed. We saw what just happened in North Carolina. That white nationalist judge trying to steal that Supreme Court seat in North Carolina State Supreme Court finally had to concede, because if you are a judge and it's very clear on its face what is going on, you've got a simple choice. You can either go pure ideologue and destroy your job, destroy the concept of a judge, and rip up the floorboards on your criminal enterprise, at which point we just have a free-for-all in this country, or you say, I can't go along with that and maintain my position as a judge with any authority. John Roberts knows he messed up with Citizens United, and he's been trying to put the genie back in the bottle ever since. What you see with Comey Barrett is very interesting, because she is beginning to beat a little bit of a retreat back. It's very interesting to see. And in this, finally, in this case, which long predates the Trump administration, but now you have a hack as the Attorney General who will try to back out of all of these cases on behalf of the United States, whether it be the Attorney General, the Solicitor General. All the Trump administration folks are going to try to back out of this. But the courts are the last line of defense. So we should look at this and not only say, okay, fine, we're glad that it went that way, but we should say it couldn't go any other way, and you still have a rule of law in the United States of America.
We're trying to get Congresswoman Terry Sewell on. They're going to let me know when she's ready. But here's the thing, Joe, I can't tell you how many Simple Simon assholes we had to listen to under the 4 years of Biden-Harris say, them judges don't matter. Them judges don't matter. They don't matter. You are seeing, with the illegal, unlawful actions taken by Donald Trump, why federal judges matter. And that means who wins the White House, who confirms the judges. That means the U.S. Senate. All of that matters.
That's right. You have had plenty of action on behalf of the rule of law, on behalf of the Constitution, by even conservative judges, where they're sheepish about what it is that's going on. This reminds you that elections matter. This reminds you of Joe Biden's effect in terms of the number of judges and the quality of judges that he appointed, which will have effects for a very, very long time. You still have judges appointed by recent Republicans, presidents, by Clinton, et cetera, by Obama, that are still doing the work, that are there for 20, 30, sometimes 40 years. There's still a few Reagan judges out there. And a lot of them believe in the rule of law. And so they go so far. They stay out of the gray area. That's why this decision said it's not even a close call. Remember, we weren't expected to win at court. The very first day I did, Roland, was the argument. It was the new justices, our sister Ketanji Brown Jackson. It was her first day. She started right in.
Right.
Okay. And they ended up winning that decision, ended up winning that case. And so judges have to show up. The Supreme Court doesn't show up as often as it needs to. I like what was just said by my brother, that, yeah, he's been trying to put the genie back in the bottle for a long, long time. And this Chief Justice's judgment, as well as his legacy, is very much at stake. And on some level, these other judges are helping to put that genie back in the bottle, one case at a time. And he's so far out, they're so far out on what it is that they try to do, that at times we can put the genie back in the bottle. And we have to continue to do that and be reminded that every vote counts. That's why you have good judges that think the right way and that believe in the Constitution, to the detriment of the things that have been going on lately.
Joining us right now is Alabama Congresswoman Terry Sewell. For the longest, Alabama's only had one black member of Congress. And of course, last year with the election of Shamari Figures, she got some company. And how does it feel, Congresswoman, not just a unanimous decision, but two of these three judges were appointed by Trump. And in this 500-page ruling, they said it was blatant what the Republicans in Alabama did to disenfranchise black people.
Absolutely, Roland. You know, this is vindication that Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act is alive and well, and thank God. You know, this is a victory for fair representation. In Alabama, the voting age population among African Americans is 27%. There are 7 districts in the state of Alabama, and until recently, only one, that's 14% representation, was a district where African American voters could choose a candidate of their own choosing. And so now, with Shamari Figures and I, we finally have fairer representation. It could be fair, more fair, but I'll take it.
Yeah, I mean, this was a constant battle. The lawsuit was led by the NAACP Legal Defense Fund and the ACLU as well. And this is why we're always trying to explain to folk who watch and listen to this show that the legal scholars matter, the legal warriors, they all matter.
They do indeed, Roland. This was really unequivocal. As you said, it was actually more like it was 592 pages, so almost 600 pages, a page decision, which, you know, really was a vindication for the fact that we've always known that we were underrepresented in Alabama. And you know what? This case will have meaningful, implications for South Carolina and Mississippi and other places that have even more African American voting age population in those states. I mean, Mississippi is 34% African American.
Yeah, and so these suits matter, and we know that this court, they've been trying to do all they can, especially Clarence Thomas, to totally get rid of the Voting Rights Act, and that law is still being used, and they did all they could to gut Section 4 and the Shelby v. Holder decision, and Section 2 is wearing their asses out.
I mean, wearing it out. And it is so great. You know, it's vindication. We are absolutely going to live under the current map that gives us 2 African-American seats, at least through 2030. And it's a clarion call for state legislatures across this nation that the Supreme Court and the federal court understand the importance of fair representation.
And so with this ruling, does that mean that the legislature must redraw maps again? What does it mean?
No, it means that the current map, which was actually drawn by a federal judge, is the rule of the law, and it will be the same map that we run again until 2030. Now, the Alabama state of Alabama can appeal this, because remember, this was a federal district court ruling. But when you have the Supreme Court and then this federal court in Alabama, as you rightfully said, that had 2 of the 3 judges appointed by Trump, has said that the state of Alabama's legislature drew a racially discriminatory map, and that the map that the courts drew in 2024 that we ran on, Shamari Figures and myself, will be the map that we run on until 2030 unless something else changes. But you know what? We've won this consistently now 3 times in federal court.
Indeed, indeed. And just so folks understand, these judges, even in their decision, they said in the 1992 election, under the court-ordered map, see, understand, y'all, the court ordered that map. District 7 elected Alabama's first black congressman in over 90 years.
That was Earl Hilliard. And, Earl Hilliard served for almost 10 years. Then it was Artur Davis. And for the last 15 years, I've been honored to represent my home district, the District 7. And I can't tell you how elated I am to have Shamari Figures join me in Congress. This is about fair representation, and Section 2, which is all about efforts to dilute the black vote, is alive and well. And that means that we can continue to see, while the Supreme Court did gut Section 4, they have not gutted Section 2. It's alive and well, and it requires that we make sure that we are not diluting the vote of minorities.
Congresswoman Terry Sewell, we appreciate you quickly jumping on to join us. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
The thing here is in Louisiana, Nola, those Republicans are still trying to fight that second district that was created there. They elected Congressman Cleo Fields, and they kept losing. That thing went to the Supreme Court and went back. And so these folks are mad, angry, and upset. They do not like black people. So this is why for Louisiana, and we keep telling black people all around the country, you cannot sit your ass on the couch and check out of elections when we got folk fighting for our representation. We got to be able to show the hell up.
1,000%, and I'm so happy that we have seen some gains in Louisiana. We have seen some people get up and get out, and exercise that right that many of our ancestors fought for. So in the town hall today, I'm going back to that again, Congresswoman Crockett also talked about Section 2 and how Section 2 is a very powerful tool that, if you understand, in the larger context of Project 2025, to roll back any and everything that has to do with civil rights, that has anything to do with Black people getting some kind of equal footing, they are against all of those things. And the way that they talk about it is as if they are taking those things away as a benefit so we can all play on the same playing field. What they are leaving out, the context here, is that those things exist because there's never been a level playing field, right? And we keep seeing this time and time again. And what really needs to resonate with voters around the country, coming from Louisiana, coming from a Black center, is why that vote is important to you. Right. And a lot of the things that I'm seeing that the Democrats are talking about is not just showing up 5 minutes before an election, but actually putting that work in and putting that work in, being in those communities, listening to people, and actually taking back that information you get from those communities are how we are going to get more people to the polls, because it absolutely matters. And I just want to say one last thing. It's been a while since I've taught legal theory, but the one thing that I do remember is public pressure, public opinion absolutely matters. I know Greg had said something earlier about not wanting to say being on the right side of history, but these people are not, they are a part of what we're all experiencing. So I don't think for one moment the fact that Trump Agenda 2025 and beyond is unpopular does not also factor into these judges stepping up and actually doing their jobs. I hope that they would just follow the red letter of the law, so to speak. But I think that it's levels to it, it's layers, and keep that public pressure on.
Greg, here's what's crazy. Go to, give me 1 second, let me pull up my iPad. I mean, these judges are incredulous. This is what I have highlighted. The legislature's conduct in that concession thrust this case into an unusual posture. We are not aware of any other case in which a state legislature, faced with a federal court order declaring that its electoral plan unlawfully dilutes minority votes and requiring a remedial plan that provides an additional opportunity district, responded with a plan that the state concedes does not provide that district. That is no different than the nullification efforts that took place in Jim Crow when in the aftermath of Brown versus Board of Education, when state legislatures said, damn your court ruling. The Supreme Court ruled, and these racists in Alabama said, hell no, we not gonna do it. And here's what they did, Greg, because I remember it leaked out. They got word from some conservative think tank, that they had a hidden weapon that they thought if they went ahead and crafted the district, then Alito Thomas was going to rule in their favor. They got smacked down at the Supreme Court.
Yes, they did. It's, and thank you, Nola, for saying that. There are layers to this and there are levels to this. The time is not on the side of these white nationalists. It's never been on their side. When you heard Representative Sewell say that 27%, and that's probably a low estimate of voting age population in Alabama is black, that's the ticking time bomb, the demographic time bomb. That doesn't mean that people will vote in their own interest. We know that. But it does mean that they are terrified. So voter suppression, through which they stole the 2024 election. I don't mean stole the way Donald Trump meant. I meant voter purges, disinformation, that kind of thing. Those tricks can only take you so far. Now they're at the point where, and I do give credit to Junior Varsity Vance and the Clown and all of them, for no other reason. They realize now that what they're doing is acting out of sheer desperation now. Anytime you see people just go straight absurd, it's because they have no other play left. But what you just evoked is very important to understand. During the Reconstruction period, during the period of intense apartheid in this country, the sequel to slavery, Jim and Jane Crow, these are when we saw the largest legal victories. This is when Charles Houston and the NAACP and then ultimately the Legal Defense Fund under his protege, junior protege and former student Thurgood Marshall, achieved the biggest victories. Your home state, Texas, this is where the voting rights war took place. This is where the voting rights war was won. And it was won not because judges became so enamored with being human in the world and loving the Negro. It was because the judges understood either this paper means this or it doesn't. And if it doesn't, we can't beat the people. And this, I think, finally is where, Nola, I think you make a very important point. Social pressure, political pressure has a role to play, and that will figure into the rationale. That's what happened in Brown. They were trying to win the Cold War, and they couldn't go around the world and tell people that, damn it, we're your friends. And they say, no, look at how you're treating them. When you see a Brown versus Board of Education, there's a social dimension, but then, as you said, Roland, you got to have the brilliant lawyers who have them cold, who are not appealing to hearts and minds, who are appealing to the cold logic of the law. And that is the scalpel that we'll use to get out of this mess, at least in the courts.
Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase. Listen to what I'm about to tell you. The window to invest in Fanbase is closing. We've raised over $10.6 million of our $17 million goal. That means there's room for less than 6,370 people to invest in Fanbase for the average amount. The minimum to invest in Fanbase right now is $399. That makes you an owner in Fanbase today. Go to startengine.com/fanbase to invest. Why? Because current social apps have taken advantage of users for far too long, with content suppression, shadow banning, harmful racist content, and no real tools for monetization and equity. Fanbase has over 1.4 million users and counting, allowing anyone to reach all their following and monetize their content from day one. Social media is the new TV, and whoever owns the apps that distribute that content have the opportunity to own potential billion-dollar companies. While big platforms with uncertain futures are failing to serve their users, Fanbase is stepping up to fill the gap. Don't wait until it's too late. Invest now, invest for yourself and your future. Go to startengine.com/fanbase and own the next generation of social media.